when you look at the engine and what's actually making the company run, I feel like it's more the extroverts that are able to communicate and deliver the message. I think when it comes to scaling the ladder, communication is the biggest piece, and I just feel like extroverts inherently have the skill of verbal communication.
Elon Musk in research. Mm-hmm. Research says that he's introvert leaning. Yeah. Billionaire, right? Got Mark Zuckerberg, billionaire, introvert leaning. We have Jeff Bezos, introvert leaning. So it's like the introverts are kind of leading everything right now.
What's going on, tech team? It is JustMyTechCents, where we talk tech, finance, and lifestyle. I'm WillDoesTech, and I'm joined by my co-host,
JohnnieTech.
JohnnieTech in the building. Round of applause.
Yes, sir.
For JohnnieTech being in the building. Discipline. We here. We showing up.
Building all day, every day.
Got a lot to do, but we showing up. We here. So.
Let's get it, man.
So today we want to talk about introverts and extroverts and who does better in the market and which group of people are more successful than the other. I have feelings on this, and they may be valid. Mm-hmm. Johnnie may try and argue something different, but
I feel like this
I'm sure he thinks that extroverts are just way more successful in the tech industry. Isn't that right?
I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one at all. And I like extroverts.
Yeah. So one of the things we talk about all the time is putting yourself out there. And I think that is probably the catalyst that makes me feel like an extroverted individual will probably do better in a market such as tech. Though we know that most times when you think of somebody in the tech industry, they tend to be more introverted.
Okay.
Right?
I would agree.
Right. So when you can break out of that box and actually be an extrovert in a field of introverts, you tend to stand out.
Possible.
Yeah. So that's my logic when it comes to who I feel is more successful. And I know that there are other points that you can argue that would say that introverts would be more successful in the industry.
I'm gonna say it like this: when we speak about certain things, I'm just gonna try to. I don't know. You call me the hot take king, whatever. I feel like introverts somewhat dominate the tech market.
Okay.
So the reason I would say that, I think
interesting.
I say that based on the tech industry and what it's built on, right? So I would look at it as in the fact that what you're saying is correct. Like extroverts, they can strive, like the things that they're good at as far as those soft skills can carry them super far. But I feel like, I even looked up like just what is the exact scientific definition of an introvert. It's not that they can't do some of the same things. It's like what they enjoy to do. It's more like they don't want to be overstimulated. So for a time they can be social, but for how long? So, and I think everyone is somewhat hybrid in those things, but it's like, if you really don't want to do that, you will strive more, because in certain positions in tech, you are a lot of the full industry. A lot of those times you have moments where you can kind of be in solitude and work. And I think you can thrive more than someone who's an extrovert. That's why I say it.
So you think that they actually dominate the market?
I think so.
Okay.
Dominate is me just saying my hot take version of it, but I do think introverts excel more.
Okay. Yeah. So I think in the number of and when we're talking sheer numbers and volume, that introverts run, they are the backbone of the industry, but I don't think that they actually run the market. So I'll take that back. They're the backbone of the industry, but those that are leading it, that are running it, tend to be extroverted because they possess that skill that more often than not introverts don't have,
right? Or
may have little of, or may not want to do.
They don't want to do it.
They don't want to do it, right? Is the communication, and that's the biggest thing. Is if you can't communicate, what it is that you're doing necessarily. And we know that there are people that are great at their jobs, but they just can't. They can't teach, or They can't communicate. They're just not good at putting words together. And we've talked about it before,
Right.
as far as when you're talking to management and being able to talk to them in layman's terms versus in binary, then they tend to excel when you can speak the same language as said person that is a decision maker.
Right.
So I think in that regard, I think when we talk about excelling in careers, I think extroverts will always excel or have the potential to excel more than introverts. But I know there are anomalies out there where introverts, you can see where introverts have excelled, and even some of the top CEOs claim to be introverted. And
I'm glad you mentioned that.
And I got, but they may not necessarily run the show,
right?
But they are the face of the company,
right? I mean, I definitely see a lot of those things that you're mentioning, but like I guess how I see it overall is like just the basics of it saying like the person who is introverted, there's less burnout in the tech industry. So if you're extroverted, I feel like you can and you could do a great job. It doesn't. None of this explains what your intelligence level is. They could be the same, have the same skills, but it's like, you know, I even look at it like this is what I believe in. Like if you're an extrovert, you thrive in social environments. So you may even need to have a social environment that has nothing to do with tech. You might say like, I want to just go out and do a couple of things, hang with friends.
You may.
And introverts on their side, since they enjoy some of the solitude, they have more time to just think, and they may spend that time thinking about tech. Their brain is moving because they're in that solitude. But when you're out and about doing things, your mind can sometimes be on different things.
Right. Well, let me ask you this: if you had to decide, because as you said, you don't know as far as skill set, right? You can have an introvert and an extrovert that have the same skill set, right? As far as the technical, but then you have somebody who's also able to communicate. Who would you choose to lead your organization?
Now you're trying to corner. Like, no, that's a great question. And because I'm always gonna be 100% honest. I think that communication is a great thing to have, right?
Yeah.
So like, you don't want someone who can't talk, right?
Right.
So like I'm gonna lean toward the person that's better at communication. But what I will say, introverts, they have the communication skill, but it's like if that's all I don't think they're gonna strive if that's all they're doing, like all the constant meetings and this and that. Yeah. So like I do think tech is moving toward that direction where there's a lot of talking to the stakeholders. Yeah. And I feel like an introvert might just like, hey man, where's the work at? Because I'm like that sometimes. Like let me, and I'll come into the meeting. I'm explaining to you what's going on, and I could break it down. I feel like I speak very well in the sense of like breaking things down to layman terms. Yeah. But eventually, I'm going to be like, all right, let me get back to what I need to do.
Do you feel like you're an introvert?
I feel like I'm a hybrid.
Okay.
But I feel like I'm leaning towards introvert. Okay. Because from my personal, what I think of myself is like, after a while, I'm gonna get tired of the conversation that if I can't add to it, or I'm good. I'm really good. Like we're by myself. So
let me tell you how I met Johnnie. Right. So I met Johnnie at work, and I lean more towards the extrovert side.
Right.
So I get around as far as talking to people. Right. Which is it can be seen as a con, right? Because I can get easily distracted.
Right.
From what's supposed to happen. At the same time, I know that the relationships that I'm building, they carry me further than if I was isolated and doing things on my own. Right? Because people are willing to do more for me because they know who I am. Right. So I know that these relationships that I'm building will pay off later if I need something to happen, right? And that's not my going in, but that's just kind of how I am, that, once you develop these relationships, then you can get the impossible done. And it's always worked through my career. But when I met Johnnie, he was we're in this cubicle and he's on the watch floor, and I'm going in there and I'm talking to people, and Johnnie has his back to everybody. Johnnie ain't talking to nobody. He is just, I don't know what he's doing. I guess he's doing work.
Putting in that work, man.
Maybe he's doing work. I don't know. But I go over there and I'm talking to everybody, and Johnnie is not turning around. I'm like, yo, who is this? And then Johnnie introduces himself, and then he turns back around and goes back to work. And it's like, yo, this dude, he ain't gonna make it.
Man, I'm listening. Like I think I'm listening. My team, they great team. When I was working with them, like they do a lot of talking. I hear the subject, and it's like if I can input, I think, and then I'm like, all right, let me get back to it because I don't know. Sometimes I get ultra focused on what I'm doing, and at the same time, it's just like, all right, I don't have no input for this. I'm not going to act like I care.
Yeah.
And I think that's a part of being an introvert. It's like, it's hard to act like you care about something that you really don't.
Right.
Like if it's a topic that I really want to talk about, I feel like I can turn around and talk about it to the extent that I want to. Right. And then after that, I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
That's a funny story.
And then you just leave it. And, for me, sometimes people don't understand like why I would float and again, talk to a lot of people. And it wasn't just to like pass time. Again, I did a lot of my emailing and things that had to be done in the off time when people left. But while people were there, it was just building those relationships, understanding what people did within the organization, and then also getting to know them as people that would help me later on as far as trying to get, different efforts done. So understanding what Johnnie did in the organization as well as his team was important to me because, I may need them at some point. So that was kind of the method behind the madness. But, sometimes, my supervisor would be like, well, where's Will at?
Right.
And I'm on the floor, but he's like, where you been at? It's like, again, I'm building relationships. But there was plenty of times where he said, hey, Will, I need you to go to the floor and talk to this person and make sure that this gets done. And it got done.
Right. You already built, you have a good rapport with that person
as
well. They don't mind you coming to them like, hey, can you get this done for me? You're like, okay, yeah. So I definitely think that's a big portion. But I like to pose this question, right? Just in that sense of like, all right, you have the extroverted personality where you can kind of go out, you can communicate well. You're talking to, different individuals, getting things, I think is very important.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the tech industry overall.
Yeah.
We're talking about learned behavior. So like, I think that so even with, like, if you're an extrovert, learned behavior may be to say like getting used to working in that solitude. You can do it, but it's somewhat learned. But I feel like for introvert, tech industry is more important because the most important thing of tech is some of that solitary work and what you're working on. So you don't have to learn. It's not a learned behavior. You're kind of just, that's where you're thriving. So then the person who is an introvert, the learned behavior is for them to say, let me work on my soft skills. But that's like work to them. So like for you, being extroverted is not work.
Right.
So,
but isolation might be.
Right. So that would say that isolation portion may be work. But I feel like a lot of tech is more, it's changing a little bit, but you're in isolation a lot more. Yeah. So I feel like the introvert just thrives more because they're more in their natural environment, I would say.
Yeah, I just disagree with that. But I do understand what you're saying.
Right.
Also, though I'm an extrovert, when it comes to the work, like I said before, I can still work in isolation when people aren't around and I don't need them for things because you can't do things alone.
Right, but you might. I feel like, and I feel like we're both hybrids in the sense where because it's also because introvert extrovert it's a personality, it's a preference thing, right? Yeah. It's not like as far as it's not your actual intelligence. It's like so if you have to get a job done, if you have the discipline, you're just gonna do it whether you hate it. Like you could hate being in isolation, but you'll get the job done because that's what's need. That's what you need. When you say not so true, why?
Well, so and I'll point to this example. So I was a deputy director of communications at this point in time, and we had a rec open for a management S level person, and we had, in my mind, capable people who knew exactly what needed to be done. That job went unfilled for 2 years.
Right.
We had the people, in my mind, right? We had the people. They were definitely very introverted. They didn't want to do anything else but what they were actually doing, right? The hands-on. They didn't want to do the management because, again, they didn't want to communicate with anybody.
Right.
When I would go down and talk to them, it's like, I get the 1-word, 2-word answers.
Right,
like,
right.
I guess everything is good.
Right.
And then move on. But at the same time, it's like your growth isn't there, right? Because of yourself getting in the way.
Right.
Now, if that's what you want to do, cool. But if you're trying to scale the ladder, then as you said, you feel like people can turn it on and then turn it off. But I don't feel like that's always possible.
Yeah, there's definitely some people who just can't do it. So there's some extroverts who can't do the solitary work at all. They might be high sales. I think people who do sales are extremely high energy. Yeah. I don't think I could. I wouldn't want to do it. No. I'm saying extroverts. They would be great in sales. Yeah. High energy things like that, and they may not ever be able to turn it down. I think there's a spectrum for it. Yeah. Right. And I feel like in tech, you definitely need to be closer to the introverted spectrum as far as than being extroverted.
Okay.
But like I feel like sales, you need to be closer to the extroverted.
Yeah. Well,
spectrum.
sales makes the money.
They do, yeah.
Right. I mean, but again, you have the engineers
Right.
to make the thing, right?
Nah, for sure. Okay, well let me just pose this because like you mentioned it earlier, I'm gonna bring it up because I did a little bit of research on what we're saying. So when we're talking about some of the lead, and this is not necessarily, it doesn't all have to be tech, but these are just billionaires out there, right? I feel like you mentioned the top CEOs. Do you have any information on that?
Nope.
Or you kind of so basically, if we look at Elon Musk and research, research says that he's introvert leaning, billionaire, right? You got Mark Zuckerberg, billionaire, introvert leaning. We have Jeff Bezos, introvert leaning. So it's like the introverts are kind of leading everything right now. I can go on. I got like
they're the face of it. Doesn't mean that they're running the show though.
I mean,
right?
but they have the money.
And
right.
some of the guys you listed are poor communicators.
They are, but they're running things. They're billionaires.
So again, it's when you look at the engine and what's actually making the company run, I feel like it's more the extroverts that are able to communicate and deliver the message. So again, the top of the spear or the top of the organization is one thing, but they are not running the day-to-day show, right? And I think when you put together the collective of who's making what in those organizations, I think you'll find that there's probably more extroverted individuals that are in upper level management positions than those that are in.
But if you want to be, I get what you're saying, but if you want to be that guy, I'm saying like, especially in this industry, these are the top guys and they're leaning introvert. I mean, there's some guys that are extrovert that are billionaires as well, but I feel like, sometimes that ultra focus, I think both can definely have it, but I'm just going on the stats, right? The stats are saying introvert leaning, they're billionaires, they making it happen. So
Like, have you ever because I have, right? It's like if they're not a technical like director or something like that, you can tell that they don't like what they're doing, that they are so out of their element that things just, and again, this isn't all introverts. So I'm gonna put that out there. Just some of the introverts that I work, because I've had some horrible extroverted managers.
Right.
Horrible. But the introverts that I've noticed, and I've talked to them, it's like, I mean, how'd you get in this position? Well, I was really good at my job and, I worked my way up and I'm here. It's like, but you've never had to, manage things and lead people. And it's apparent that, you're kind of out of your element. It's like, well, I don't really like doing it, but if I want to scale, then I got to do what I got to do.
That's a good question you pose. Like, I'm thinking about all the managers I've worked with. They've been pretty outgoing, and the introverted people I work with, they've been extremely smart. Yeah. And I look at them and they choose not to even go into those. Like, I just don't want to do it.
Right.
It's not that they can't do it. It's like they just don't want to. Now, if they had someone, like you said, if they had someone, I feel like they learn to delegate. They do a great job too. Like, hey, I'll get someone. You want to talk to everyone? I'm gonna tell you exactly what they need to do. You go handle that, and that's maybe what these guys like Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg, they may do those things, and that may be why they have been able to scale like they do. Right. Because like me personally, I feel like I'd be a great leader, but at some points I feel like I do a good job with delegating. Okay. So I'd be able to say like, hey, just this is all you need to do. I'm gonna show you how to do it. Yeah. And you go spread that message. Yeah. I think that makes a great leader regardless.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the delegation piece is important, but I also feel like when you're so close to the keyboard and it needs to be done, you just say, move out the way. I got it. Right. Because you have a way of doing things. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it feels like you're micromanaging and you truly don't know the art of delegation when it comes to that, because you're so close to the technology. Right. Right. So, I mean, all of this sounds like a ball of confusion. I still stand on, I still, as you said before, as far as intellect, you can't tell one way or the other. But I think when it comes to scaling the ladder, communication is the biggest piece. And I just feel like extroverts inherently have the skill of verbal communication, then an introvert typically wouldn't possess like an extrovert.
I would concede that point, but so like for me to summarize everything, I just feel like the tech industry overall, like you mentioned, is that backbone. So I'm saying like the introvert, if they pick up some of the skills and can turn it on and turn it off, I feel like they'll be more comfortable in the field. And then when they decide to flip, if they can flip that switch, they would go further. But now you have to be like, I will concede, like you need to have the communication piece. You can't just, I mean, you can be very great at it and you can become even if you make $400,000 as a engineer, as an introvert, you still probably make more if you learn how to communicate. Because you might decide like, I'm gonna create my own business, do my own thing. Right. And you need those skills to create your business. So, but you can still go very far.
Right. So, I just one more. So, like on that, right? And again, before a position I had was information systems manager. So I managed the help desk, and then I was the information systems technician. When I got to the position, and I was, as I did before, I was floating and talking to people and like understanding what other people did. Right. They were like, well, "What position do you do?" And it's like, "Well, this is what I do." And they're like, "Did we have somebody do that before?" And it's like, "Yeah." It's like, "Who?" It's like, "Well, this person." It's like, "Oh, we didn't know." Right. And when I was talking to said individual, they didn't get the best eval because they wanted to stay in the server room. Right. They were probably doing a really good job, but they stayed in the server room, right, configuring email and the switches, and they never came out of the server room to actually avail themselves to other people and talk to them about what's happening. Right. So they're like, "Well, we didn't think we had somebody." It's like, no, they were there. Right. They just didn't want to talk to people. That's
a key thing. But people don't, like they said, people, they don't see the back end of everything that's going on. So like it's running, so they don't know who's fixing it. They really don't care. But when you're visible, say, I'm the one who's making sure this is running. And you got to be, right? I mean, and more importantly nowadays, because people are getting laid off, you have to be visible. Right. As much as you don't want to be, as much as you want to say, I want my work to talk for me, your work is not going to, your work, I hear that so often, if my work doesn't talk for me, then fine. Right. Your work doesn't talk. That's true.
Right?
Yeah. I understand what you're saying now, because like even me being in these different roles and going to, it's like people don't, like I said, people don't know what you're doing. Right. If they get online or they're accessing tools that they, like me, I'm a security engineer. We work with a lot of different tools. If it's working fine, they're like, it works. Right. So what? But when it's broken, then they're looking for you. But so honestly, if something breaks and you fix it, they're like, oh, he's a guy, but no one cares.
If they know you are the person that fixed it.
Right. But like they're gonna know because when it's not working, and they're gonna be like, why is it not working? When it goes down, like I had a situation like, these logs are not coming into the system, and then it wasn't working for a long time. So now you have the error caused the visibility. So when you fix it, you're like, oh, okay. But if it was always working, nobody would care. Yeah. So yeah, I kind of agree with you on that.
Yeah, and some of the problems that I have is when like a problem happens and I didn't fix it, but I may be the person that's talking to the person that like needs to know that it's fixed. Right. And I try and bring that tech with me, and they say no, I don't want to go into the meetings.
Don't do that.
Again, so they think I fixed it. It's like I didn't. It wasn't me. It was Johnnie who fixed it, but Johnnie is too shy to, not you.
No, I know this is Johnnie, because JustMyTech, I'm going with you. You're not taking credit for my work.
Right, exactly. I'm trying to give you, as a good manager and cheerleader for employees, I'm trying to give you your just due. Right. Whether it's me briefing it, presenting it, and saying, Johnnie back here is the one that actually fixed it, so you get highlighted and get innovation. That's what I try and do as a.
So you was a good leader. You was a good leader.
Well, and I think that, but that's the thing too. As an extrovert, or let me not even say that. Whether you're introverted or extroverted, as a manager, you need to understand how to work with both. Right. And I knew that, again, being in the tech industry, when it comes to introverted people, like they don't want the spotlight. Like they really don't want this. And if they do, they don't want to have to say anything. Right. They just want to be like less. They want the spotlight, right, but they don't want to avail themselves to like briefing or meetings. Right. So you got to figure out a way to highlight them, but also get them out of them being comfortable, but being able to fail in a a place that feels safe.
Right.
And I think that's the thing that I try to instill in them. It's like, I'm trying to bring you along because I don't think you understand the hurt that you're doing to your
own
career.
Right, by not being visible and showing what you do.
Right, and it's like I'm trying to bring you along, and I'm going to hype you up as much as I can. But if the boss doesn't know who you are, then there's only so much that I can do. So let's go ahead and rehearse. Let's just make sure you're prepared for whatever you might say. Maybe it's 30 seconds of whatever. Maybe it's an email that I need to just proofread. Whatever it is. But I think manager, introvert, extrovert, whichever, you need to understand how to work with both and leverage those strengths and also work on those weaknesses to make sure that they potentially become strengths.
Right, 100%.
So,
and also for people that don't know, this has nothing to do with the topic in a sense, but like when you're during your spill, maybe think about like all the people out there who hide behind the introvert tag who just aren't working. Like, I'm an introvert. Like, nah, you ain't doing no work, man.
Right.
But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. Yeah. There are those that are like that. And you can tell. Right. Because they're the ones that they do get around, right? And they do talk to people. And then, when it comes time to, perform or do some work, it's like, no, I don't want to go to that meeting. It's like, oh, why not? Well, I'm not comfortable.
Right. Like, man, you ain't doing no work.
Right. That's why. Exactly. So, anyways, what are your thoughts? Do you feel like in the tech industry that extroverts make it further or introverts make it further, or do you feel like it's a mix? And what we don't want to do is, we understand that it depends.
Right.
We do, but in order to have the discussion, it was like, if you had to lean one way or another, which way would you decide? And I went with the extrovert tag. Johnnie went with the introvert tag. And I mean, you got our opinions. I think he conceded a point to me that, communication is key.
Communication is key, but introverts, in the tech industry, keep it pushing.
Introverts, they build, extroverts build the things too, but introverts, they... Anyhow, what are your thoughts? This is just our Tech Sense. I'm WillDoesTech.
JohnnieTech.
And we'll talk to y'all.
Oh.